Oh hey there, Stenblood here. If there's one thing I haven't talked about, it's Take the Dream 9. This game stands out amidst all the Yai Gamework games. Spoiler warning. So why am I talking about this game? 230? What is that? To answer these questions, we're gonna have to get into it and recap on the story. This game starts out as an annoying RPG Maker first project, but it really isn't that bad after the intro. During this intro, a bunch of things get said, things that the player might not take seriously at this point, because it's just this giant blob of text, and it's intentionally made this way. This text tells the story of Take the Dream 9, and it's very important despite the blobbiness. There's this entity called Saturna, and everything's happy under their control, but then the Demon King erases them from existence. Keep in mind, erased from existence. It's an important detail. After this, you awaken. You're playing as Gwen. You make your way through meeting the person you must save on a cliff. But then, they get kidnapped by a default RPG Maker asset. And this is where the game truly starts to get creepy. The game cuts to Gwen being in some nearby cave. Or maybe it doesn't cut, maybe this is just what Gwen is experiencing. Some party members she seems to know talk to her, but she doesn't know them, so Gwen leaves on her own. But going through this cave, it's obvious that something's not right. And after beating this cave's challenge and going even deeper, Gwen's consciousness gets cut again. This time, something dark begins. This is the point where most players will see that this is not just a normal RPG Maker game that's a first project. Although by then, how many people would have made it through anyway? This game then becomes surreal sight after surreal sight. However, the true chaos has not begun yet. Gwen cuts off yet again, this time in the Dark World. Some more information is given out, although it don't seem that important at the time. Then Gwen finally meets their kidnapper, the default RPG Maker asset. They reveal that the kidnapping happened for the simple reason that it's something that must happen. But this knowledge is brought into question by the fact that they didn't know about Gwen's teleportation, and they become just a corpse. But this is where the game truly begins. No, we're not rolling the credits. Surreal sight after surreal sight. Sometimes there is pure chaos, with nothing to make out, and the next moment it's just something really serious. This game doesn't seem to have any deeper plot behind it at this point. After cutting through again and again, it's revealed that Gwen has split personalities. And what we're experiencing is just one of her personalities. We aren't actually just teleporting everywhere, or maybe we are. But just before something important gets revealed, Gwen finally catches up to the Demon King, and it's revealed that they're a literal YouTuber. That's right, making videos on Take the Dream 9, and that's the only time when Take the Dream 9 gets mentioned. This is the only reason why this game would be called that, or at this point anyway. When Gwen kills this Demon King, the game still doesn't go back to normal. In fact, it gets more intense. Gwen's sent to the beginning town, but it's not how it used to be. All her party members are dead. But why? Is this the work of opposite personality Gwen, or is something deeper at play here that we didn't comprehend because we skipped through all the dialogue? Even after the game is over, and it turns into this one big fourth wall break, it's still not obvious what's going on. That's right, on top of all of this, the game also knows you're playing it. And the game seems to just truly end after this. Gwen crying because she realizes that they were never really meant to save anyone. And the game just ends. But then, upon reloading the save file, after the ending, Gwen tells us, "Wretched waits and gullet takes. When the word strikes 2:30, you may hear more of me." But is this Gwen? They have a weird look on their face. Who are they talking to? What does 2:30 mean? Are we waiting for something? When will we hear more of them? And for this, we're going to have to move on to the next part of this video. What is the conclusion? What are we meant to think the story is? We're clearly given a truth. In Take the Dream 9, it seems that it's just the Demon King making different worlds and making YouTube videos in them. That's really what the plot of Take the Dream 9 is. That's the revealed truth. But this truth doesn't make sense. If Take the Dream 9 was just about the Demon King making worlds and uploading YouTube videos, then what's all this? Even the Saturna entity persists in these worlds. After the Demon King is taken over, they have some connection to the main character. It never gets explored. They told someone to build a shrine while Gwen waited in the darkness in their different personality form. But there's one thing that makes it really obvious that the Demon King making YouTube videos isn't just what's going on in Take the Dream 9. And that's 2:30. Wretched waits and gullet takes. When the word strikes 2:30, you may hear more of me. Now let's look at this. It's obvious that the game is talking to you, the player, when they say this riddle. They aren't talking to Gwen, they're talking to you through the screen. The game is aware of you. Speaking of some sort of wretched wait. A wretched wait could be all sorts of different things. Gullet takes could just mean that the Shadow Gwen is hungry while they're waiting, or they're hungering. But when the words strike 2:30, you may hear more of them. This 2:30 is the biggest mystery of all of Yai Gameworks. It shows up in the strangest places, but the only real connection to it is the door, the final blue door. Come hither at the end of all things. Honestly, this just sounds like the final boss of 2020. When the words strike 2020, you will hear more of me. Megalovania plays in the sky. Or was it 2021? And then there's going to be round 2. Of my Gameworks references. If there's one thing that's obvious about this, it's obvious that the Demon King is telling the truth, but it just looks like they don't know what's going on. As soon as Gwen starts teleporting all over the place and starts ruining their plan. And to add for it, all of Gwen's companions are dead at the end of this game for some reason, killed by presumably Shadow Gwen. It's strange. In a place that you wouldn't usually explore, there's a door with a tiny inscription at the end of all things. The State Gamer said he originally planned to add this in a later update, but it never got added, and 2:30 was never figured out. But that was in 2000 and whatever, I don't remember anymore. This is 2020. A lot of information has been released. Get ready for your second wave of Yai Gamework spoilers. Because we're delving into Feast Your Eyes now. Feast Your Eyes might make it clear to why Take the Dream 9 is called Take the Dream 9. In Feast Your Eyes, the host, the big green man, tells us that this thing is an Ironaut. That's like a dream explorer, I think. And after this, it's obvious that there is this dream exploring theme in Yai Gameworks. This makes some of the lines that Flora said at the end of Take the Dream 9, it makes them make sense. So maybe Gwen was the dream, and everything just disappeared around them. What exactly is the Demon King here? They're important to plot, or maybe they're just part of the dream. Then there's Arkhan, who didn't know. He was doing something, but didn't know a whole lot about it. Even the host appears in this game on his search for whatever this thing is. It's strange. Something ridiculously bad happens every time. Something ridiculously bad happens every time Sloppy Joe appears. You thought this was a friendly, nice, probably not. I'm pretty sure they somehow killed Gwen. Let's get back to the door at the end of all things. This door appears in Red Haze too. Supposedly, after all endings are collected, this door will unlock, but Red Haze isn't complete yet. It's impossible to get all the endings. Supposedly, we'd get information about 2:30 through this door. Or maybe it'd be something completely different. After all, it's the door at the end of all things. There's one more problem with this story of Take the Dream 9. This game is fourth wall aware, and it seems a bunch of things are fourth wall aware in this. But why isn't the Demon King fourth wall aware? They don't mention it, but it seems like something they would mention after all being a god. It doesn't make sense. The host calls all of these games not games. But if they're not games, what are they? Are they dreams? Are you just an Ironaut? And why is there fourth wall connection to it? Let's get back to 2:30 though. That's what we're going to solve today. If it even is 2:30 and not 230 or 230. So what's my theory on 2:30? What's behind the door at the end of all things? Is it an Ironaut party? It just seems weird. All these games have a time loop inside of them, and the wait is wretched. Wretched can also mean hopeless. You're not even confirmed to hear more of them. You may hear more of them, but that's if they escape the time loop. The door at the end of all things has to be the escape. The door at the end of all things is the escape to the time loop. It all makes sense when you think about it. Once you've waited for enough cycles to pass, all the endings will be collected. But that's being pretty hopeful considering it's a time loop. Everything will just loop, with the only remnants being memories, and maybe a few other things. This is Yai Gamework. There are no happy endings in Yai Gameworks. What does it truly mean to escape the time loop? Does Take the Dream 9 even affected by a time loop? What will happen on the final dash to the door at the end of all things? happens? Will we even get to see it? These things really seem to be connected. The door at the end of all things and 230 appeared at the same time, and they're still locked, with the only hope of them appearing in the future, when enough time has passed and Red Haze gets updated. But if the wait is wretched, then maybe this won't happen till hundreds of years have passed. Red Haze is a game about collecting endings. You play as drug addict Rocket. Every time you complete the cycle, you get sent back to the beginning, but with new progress. The game remembers, and after enough endings have been collected, the game gets harder and darker. It soon becomes obvious that something's going on here, that time is looping. After all, it's all about perception. I love that line. We don't even know the host's goal. If you search 230, all that remains is an old meme of a mystery that was never solved. Okay, I guess I'm doing my wretched wait now. Well, 10 seconds, that's pretty wretched. How do I even gullet takes? What? Does that mean like, when the words strike? What words? I'll make you strike 230. Subscribe, rate 5 star. Maybe we're looking at it wrong. After all, this still doesn't make sense. Why would words strike 230? Why would you hunger for this? Unless...